up, book lovers? It is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about some of my favorite reimaginings. If you didn't know, this is a 7 on Sunday, and I am the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future. Now, this is one that I've wanted to do for a while, but it's funny because I wasn't really in a retelling slash reimagining mood for a very long time. And in all honesty, I think it's because that retellings and reimaginings, for me, at one time, I just literally thought to myself, well, I already kind of know the source material and I already know what to expect. What I love actually about distinguishing a retelling and a reimagining is taking the story's main premise from it and fracturing it. I remember studying fractured fairy tales in school, and I really enjoyed that. We ended up studying Shrek. It has the formula of every fairy tale, but it is essentially very much fractured and takes place in like the original fairy tale realm where like all the fairy tales happen, and that's what I like about Shrek. So I guess without further ado, I'm gonna get into 9 books that I've selected instead of 7. I know, sometimes I'm good at sticking to 7, sometimes I'm just not. But regardless, it's a 7 on Sunday prompt and I'm actually doing it. The first retelling slash reimagining I've got to recommend is a Mulan one. And that, my friends, is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. I love this series. I didn't really like the second book as much. I'm still trying to weigh up as to whether I should get the Fairy Loot editions or not. I really like these covers and I'm really satisfied with the original covers and the illustrations. But anyway, I could essentially be ranting on about collector's editions of books for days. What I like about this version of Mulan, or essentially the book's version of Mulan, Maya, is essentially disguising themselves as a royal tailor. And in this world, females can't do that. It's a man's position, and so that's what she's doing. So essentially, it's Mulan meets Project Runway, but at the very same time, it's a very loosely based Mulan retelling. I'd say its own original concept. I really enjoyed the story, and I really enjoyed following Maya, and I kind of just do wish that this was a trilogy because I got really attached to Maya. That being said, I'm definitely going to read more from Elizabeth Lim in the future because, oh my goodness, she impressed me so much with her writing in this book. Honestly, guys, like, don't sleep on it. I highly recommend it. I'm going to be talking about Little Red Riding Hood. Now, the reason why I bring up Little Red Riding Hood in the Lunar Chronicles, in particular, Scarlet, is because out of all the characters that were adapted, I liked this take on Scarlet the best. Now, the Lunar Chronicles is very much known as being probably the most popular young adult retelling slash reimagining series of all time because the entire series is pretty much reimagining of fictional characters, and that's cool. I will acknowledge that there is cultural appropriation in the series, so while I do enjoy the story, I am still not really okay with the cultural appropriation aspects, and that's fine. You can be a fan of something, but also acknowledge its flaws, essentially. I wouldn't say that I don't like Cinder's or Cress's or Winter's parts of the story. I do like them as characters, but my favorite was Scarlet, and this is such an unpopular opinion. I literally saw someone tweet out saying, if your favorite characters or if your favorite ship is Scarlet and Wolf, then you're lying. And no, I'm not lying. They are my favorite ship out of this series. And the reason why I like the ship so much is because they're so authentic. I feel so sorry for Wolf, but then I love Scarlet and how she's so protective and how she's ready to fight at any time. I don't know. I love their dynamic the best. And I understand why people don't really like them as much as they like Cress and Thorn. And yeah, you know, Cress and Thorn are cool, but I feel like I saw Rapunzel done better in Tangled personally, and I resonate with the character Scarlet even more. People call them a boring couple, I guess. What else do I have to say? Maybe they just got together instantly and people were just like, ah, they're a boring couple. Okay, cool, whatever. Just let me love them, okay? When we're talking about the fairy tale aspects, I wasn't a big fan of Red Riding Hood at all before I read this book. Now I very much love this retelling slash reimagining of Little Red Riding Hood because I had an attachment to the rest of the characters or the rest of the fairy tales that were being represented, but I didn't necessarily have an attachment to Little Red Riding Hood. Now I do. Yeah, Wolf is just like full on one of my amazing fictional boyfriends. I love him. And now here's one that a lot of people are not expecting. I'm gonna be talking about a reimagining of the book of Genesis in the Bible. And that, my friends, is Neon Genesis Evangelion. Now this is a manga. I know a lot of you guys might be thinking, wait, geez, are we talking about fairy tales and folklore? You know, yeah, we're also talking about that. But if you guys didn't know, I grew up Christian. I grew up in a Christian household, and I grew up essentially forced to read slash listen to the Bible being read to me. Obligatory Bible reading time for years. And I can say with confidence that at least 11 times I have read slash listened to the Bible back to front because it would happen every year. From what I remember, definitely 11 years in a row that happened. We weren't allowed to miss it. I think it was only when like I was studying, I was out of the library, I was not at home, my parents would be like, okay, we'll make an exception, she can skip Bible reading. But oh my goodness, guys, I've literally memorized the Bible. I'm joking, I have not memorized the Bible, but I know it enough to recognize biblical imagery slash symbolism. With Neon Genesis Evangelion, at least the anime, because the anime was actually made before the manga was finished, the creators of the anime essentially emphasize the biblical imagery and symbolism. I know a lot of people hate that. I actually enjoyed it, and the reason why I enjoyed it is because it felt like a payoff. After all that Bible reading that I was put through at a young age, I was thinking, yes, I got that reference. Oh my goodness, I totally understand that, and I totally how that relates to the book of Genesis. That's essentially what Neon Genesis Evangelion was meant to be, except it's meant to be a more futuristic kind of thing. So yes, I understand that the people who are weirded out by religion, I understand why they don't like it. And I also understand why people who are fascinated in religion actually really enjoy the series. It's a very polarized series, and it has to do with mechs, which is not something that I originally thought that I was going to enjoy, but I absolutely really loved the biblical imagery and the symbolism. And sometimes biblical imagery and symbolism can come off as kind of pretentious. Like the people who make the book series or make a movie or something like that is like, guess what? I've read the Bible. Let me show you how much I've read of the Bible. And sometimes it can just come off like that. But I just like how it was very subtle in the adaptation and in the manga. I don't like the manga as much as I like the anime, only because the anime was the first one I watched and I'm attached to now. That being said, I still enjoyed both for what they were and for what they represent. And this is probably something that you're going to learn for the first time ever. This right here is a Cinderella reimagining. I know what you might be thinking. Gee whiz, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Sarah has even said it herself. This book right here, Throne of Glass, is a Cinderella reimagining. I mean, it feels more like The Hunger Games meets Game of Thrones, which essentially is what people have been pitching it as. But it's so weird because it was actually intentionally meant to be a Cinderella reimagining, and you know what? There are some elements that I can see in it that kind of point to it, but at the very same time, it's just a very loose reimagining of Cinderella. And I do very much appreciate the concept and the elements, but there isn't really much. That being said, it's still one of my favorite series ever, and that's why it kind of classifies as one of my favorite reimaginings. I know Cinder is probably a better reimagining of Cinderella, considering that it's got a lot more references to it, but I just wanted to put it out there that this is a reimagining of Cinderella, and you can look it up. And this book by Sarah J Maas is a lot more evident that it is kind of a reimagining slash retelling. That, my friends, is A Court of Mist and Fury, and this one right here is a Hades and Persephone reimagining. Now, this is probably the first time I'm showing you guys that I have these dust jackets on my channel, and they are absolutely stunning. I have been showing them off on my Bookstagram. If you guys want to follow me there, it's at Cheese Was a Book. Highly recommend. I very much enjoy posting daily content on there, and I don't know, it was really funny. I ended up just going to Illumicrate's website because sometimes what I do is I go to bookish websites or bookish box places and see if they've got any special editions like that they're selling. And I already knew about the artist and their work based on this print of Cassian and Nesta, or at least this picture of Cassian and Nesta that I saw on the internet and that I bought as a print at RedBubble, Alethian art. Hopefully I got it right. When I went on the website, and I did not see the dust jackets at the time because they did not give a sneak peek at the time, but when I saw that they were going to be custom made Akatar dust jacket done by this artist who had become my favorite artist through this piece of Cassian and Nesta, I thought to myself, I need to buy this bookish box. And I know that a lot of people are going to regret not buying it when I did. So I just bought it, and yeah, I have these dust jackets now and I have no regrets. If you guys are wondering if I'm planning to sell them, no, I'm not planning to sell them at all anytime soon because these are literally my favorite covers. Court of Mist and Fury is a Hades and Persephone retelling that I'm pretty sure was my first ever Hades and Persephone retelling that I ever read. Now I try to seek them out even more. I'm currently reading the Touch of Darkness series, and while I do recommend that series and it's a good modern take on it, I don't like it as much as I like A Court of Mist and Fury. Also, the Star Touch Queen is a good take on the myth as well. This being said, this is probably one of my faves, and this is a fave of a lot of people who do like the myth themselves, but I like how it came after a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And you know what? I felt so bittersweet about. The fact that the Beauty and the Beast retelling did not really turn out to be amazing. Like, I did enjoy the retelling aspects of it, but I'm really sad that the Beast never really got to be the good guy in the end, and that really, really broke my heart because I love the Beauty and the Beast, and the Beauty and the Beast has always been my favorite fairy tale. This being said, the Court of Thorns and Roses series has kind of given me a new myth that I really love and that I follow as an adult, as opposed to the fairy tale that I would follow as a child, which was Beauty and the Beast. I really do like Hades and Persephone, which kind of is similar but different in many ways. Speaking of Beauty and the Beast, there is a Beauty and the Beast retelling that kind of pretty much redeems Beauty and the Beast for me, because Beauty and the Beast was my favorite fairy tale as a child. I always saw myself in Belle. I don't know if it's because I look the most like Belle because of my brunette hair. I just remember admiring Belle, and I loved the Beast. I just loved following them. I don't know, I just love everything about the story, and I know that it doesn't really represent the best things or the best themes. That being said, it is kind of a guilty pleasure for me, and it just reminds me of my childhood. But I love the take of Beauty and the Beast in A Curse So Dark and Lonely, or the Cursebreakers series by Bridget Kemmerer. Now, I don't like the next two books as much as I like the first book. I really love the first book because the pacing is absolutely perfect, as opposed to the next two books. I kind of wish that the next two books were longer or were more expanded upon or had more of a definitive ending, because they just did not. That being said, oh my goodness, this book alone, this Beauty and the Beast retelling alone, absolutely stunning. And this right here is my favorite Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I just want to find more healthy Beauty and the Beast retellings because they are possible. Based on this book, they're possible. Something that you're probably going to learn that's kind of new, and I'm not going to involve too many spoilers here, but let's just say that there's some, you know, King Arthur elements in the Legendborn series, which I did not anticipate and a lot of people did not anticipate. I like that a lot because I was reading a few King Arthur things last year. I was reading the Guinevere Deception, which I did enjoy, and I will be continuing. I just haven't continued on from the first book yet. And I read Cursed last year and I just found it to be mediocre. I didn't really enjoy it. And then I read Legendborn, and then I thought to myself, this is probably the best reimagining of King Arthur that I've read this year. What? That's so weird. And I wasn't even expecting it. I went into the other two books expecting to read about King Arthur, and look where we are. I was reading about King Arthur, or like Arthurian legends, in this book right here, which I did not expect this book to have, which was amazing. I just want to let you guys know that if you're looking for something that involves Arthurian legends, this is your book. I'm going to be talking about Romeo and Juliet, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know that I'm going to bring up These Violent Delights. Now, I've read a few Romeo and Juliet retellings, this Savage Song duology, and I've read Lifelike, and I didn't like those ones as much as I liked this one. And the reason why I didn't like those ones is because I think when it comes to anything to do with Shakespeare, I had the highest expectations. I just want to see more Shakespearean elements in them, but also I just want a romance that's kind of like to die for, you know? Even though this book isn't necessarily romantic, what was like not really a selling point for the Savage Song was that the romance in there was non-existent. It's like Romeo and Juliet, but they're friends. I'm like, okay, cool. That kind of takes an element out of Romeo and Juliet. And then with Lifelike, I did like the protagonist. I didn't really like the love interest. With this book, I love both the characters and like following their dynamic, and also kind of like the concept around the Romeo and Juliet retelling. Like this one does make sense because they're like clans and gangs against each other, and it's just literally the perfect Romeo and Juliet retelling. But also, I really like the take of it being in the 1920s in Shanghai. It's really cool. And then the last book series I've got to bring up is a reimagining of something that I actually haven't read yet. That being said, it kind of inclines me to read it, and what I do like about the series is that it draws inspiration from Dickens, and so does the series that comes before it. Now, my friends, is the Last Hour series by Cassandra Clare. This is inspired by Great Expectations. I haven't read Great Expectations yet. I'm pretty sure the previous book series, which is The Infernal Devices, had elements of the Tale of the Two Cities, which is also a Charles Dickens novel. And I really like that there are some elements to the series that kind of reflect those themes, even though I have not read it, and I really do actually want to read Great Expectations. The problem is Charles Dickens was paid by word count, from what I know. It's actually longer than it should have been, according to a lot of people. This being said, I might be wrong, but what I do know is that I do want to experience Great Expectations at some point in my life, not just because this series makes reference to it. Into the Spider-Verse also makes reference to Great Expectations. So yeah, it's pretty much inspired a lot of media that I've consumed. That's why I want to get to Great Expectations. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today. Let me know if you agree with any of my opinions or there are some other reimaginings that I haven't gotten to yet. Let me know that too. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at GSizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also at Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.